Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. You're watching In Deep on the Delta. This is the weekly fishing report for the week of October 6th. And I want to start off by just thanking all of you for sending in your comments and suggestions last week on how I could maybe tighten up the report and get you a little more value for your buck for the report. And I want to let you guys know that I really appreciate you guys taking the time to do that. I read all of them and I tried to respond to all of them. I got several hundred comments and suggestions through my YouTube channel and Instagram and Gmail and everything that comes in. So if I missed your comment or suggestion, I didn't get back to you, I apologize for that, but I really tried to read all of them, and I want to thank you guys for taking the time to do that. What I got out of it was you guys liked the format pretty much. You like the 10 to 15 minutes as far as the report length. I'm going to try to tighten that up a little bit because I want to make sure you guys get all of the information you need, but I don't want to be over talking it. And the format will hopefully weekly be an intro, river news, river conditions, stripers, tournament talk, last week's recap, this week's predictions, and tips for success. And we'll try to go through that same order every time. And I'm also going to be doing a thing they call chaptering. So if you just need, river conditions or last week's reports or next week's predictions, you can find the chapter that's in. It will be in my description, and you can go right to that part of the report and check that out and be on your way. So those are a couple things I'm going to try to do to streamline it. We'll start off with some river news, and I want to let everybody know that the 2022 food allergy kayak bass tournament, that's the one that was set for October 29th at Clear Lake. It's still October 29th. It's been moved to Pardee Reservoir. If you need more information on this, just Google up 2022 Food Allergy Kayak Bass Tournament, and it will give you all the information that you need for that tournament. Okay, that's the first line of news. Second, last week, if you have not watched my video that I put up, it's called I Surrender, and it was a video that talked about a vessel turn-in program and a abandoned vessel exchange program. And I just want to say, if you have not watched that video, please watch it, get the information, and spread that information around. And these are two programs that are helping to not only remove boats from the Delta, sunken abandoned boats, but they're also helping to keep other boats from winding up in the Delta. I can tell you that I've used this program myself, and I've also seen some of the benefits of some of these boats being pulled out off of the Delta. I want to give a big shout out to the local sheriff's departments, especially San Joaquin County Sheriff Department and the state boating and waterways division. They are the ones that are operating this program, and I know they get a lot of guff from time to time, but let's give credit where credit is due. This is a great program. They're doing something good for the river. It's if you have a boat that you need to turn in, it's free of charge. When they're pulling these abandoned boats off of the river, they're not tax dollars. They're grant money that they've gotten, and it's just a win-win situation. So a big shout out to both the boating and waterways people and the local sheriff's department. And the sheriff's department that I worked with was the San Joaquin County Sheriff's Department. Couldn't have been nicer folks and professional, and they got the job done. So that's the second line of business. And the third line of business is I want you guys again to let me know if you've been fishing out here, and I'm talking about the spraying program out here. You've seen a little different, if you've been out here, you've seen a little different spray pattern. They're not spraying the entire floating vegetation mass that may be going down the river. Now, I've got some B-roll I'll put in here to explain a little bit. They're spraying the outside edges, and they're leaving the inside unsprayed. They're leaving the inside live. I talked to one of the teams at Paradise Point, and they're doing this hopefully to be a little more environmentally sensitive, but also they want to know if you guys are fishing these areas. You pull up and maybe you're punching the inside. You pull up and the outside it looks like it's been sprayed or it's died off or whatever, but you got that defined edge on the outside. they're calling it trimming, just like trimming a hedge. So they're not killing the whole mat, they're just taking the outside edge off. If you guys are catching fish in there, let me know. I will be relaying this information to the team that's doing this, and if it's working for them and they're keeping the waterways clear and it's working for the fishermen, because if you don't spray the whole mat, maybe the fish just go deeper into the mat and they stay there. They don't have to leave that area. If that's working for us, and I get good information saying, yeah, you know what, I've been doing that and catching fish in it, I'll relay that, and maybe the rest of the teams, instead of doing just a clear kill all the way down the bank, they'll spray the edges of it, and the fish won't have to move around. So it'll be more environmentally friendly for us, and it'll also be it'll also take care of what the boating and waterways people need to do to keep the Delta clean. So think about that and give me any comments if you've seen that, and if you like to see that more and more, we'll definitely hit it up. Maybe we can make a change out here. All right, let's get into water conditions or river conditions. Temperature is dropped a degree or two. It's 68 degrees in the morning. By 10 o'clock it's up to 70, 71. So it's going to be a couple degrees within 70 degree water temps when you come out here. The clarity, I went out north out of Hogback yesterday, went up to Liberty, fished up around there. We had water clarity all the way up to 15 feet in some of the sloughs. Very clear up there. Central Delta is still at 3 to 5 feet. The stripers are coming in slow but sure. They're still out a little farther. Sherman Island, Grizzly Island, the bigger fish are coming out there, and there's been really good reports of guys throwing everywhere from topwater to weight bait, big striper baits. The guys that really target them, they're getting some big fish, and they're coming this way. Most of them that are in the system now are probably either down, out around Big Break and that way, Sherman Island, or they've moved up to Liberty. We caught some small keeper-sized stripers up there yesterday. We'll talk about that in a minute, but they're coming in. Jeff Suhu from Suhu Sport Fishing, he's out fishing now, and I will be talking with Jeff weekly. He had been catching a ton of fish up until this weekend. Jeff is, right now, he's drifting live bait. He said, boy, something happened this weekend where the fish just, dissipated, and he's in the process of refinding where those fish went. But they're coming in, and we're going to talk more and more about stripers as they get into the system. So that's the striper report. We'll get right into what happened last week, along with the tournament angling last week, and I'll kind of address both of those at the same time because they work with each other. And it was a slow week. The fishing slowed down last week. The topwater bite pretty much, I won't say it disappeared, but it really dropped off. Topwater fishing has gotten very tough out here. The early morning and late evening fishing, it's still a little better than it is midday, but that really dropped off too. If you're coming from out of town, I wouldn't get up at 3 in the morning to come out here and get a 15-minute bite if you're lucky, early in the morning or late in the evening. So those bites have kind of dissipated. People are catching fish. They're doing everything that you could think of out here. It's junk fishing, catching a lot of fish, a lot of rats, and when I'm talking about rats, 6 to 10 inches. They'll go through 50 of those in order to get a 5 or 6, 7 fish that will make a 12 or 14 inch tournament fish. And most of those fish are under 3 pounds. So it has been very tough. It's been junk fishing throughout the week. There are guys still punching. I know Odeby. I didn't talk to Odeby, but I had heard that he caught that big fish, that 10-pound fish, punching. Just be aware of, I talked to a lot of guys that are out here punching, and they're catching fish, but they're catching small fish punching too. So, the difference is, catch a few small fish punching, or maybe put on a faster moving bait like a jerk bait or something, and catch a lot of fish on maybe a spinning rod or a light rod and have a little more fun. So that's going to be up to you. I wish I had a better report for last week, but that's it. What can we do next week? And I'll tell you what I've been doing. I told you we were out all the way from Liberty Island. I've been to Frank's Track. I've been down south. I've been to Central. The fishing is the same all over. Don't think you have to move around and to find these fish. If you find that, let's say the delta is this big and you're fishing a spot this big, don't think you have to be this big. Stay in that spot, but move around, because you're probably fishing where there are fish. They're just not biting. Maybe it's a moon phase, maybe it's tide, whatever it is. If anybody could figure it out, that'd be great. Tell me and I'll pass it on to you. But nobody knows what's going on out here. The fishing has just been tough. We're going to get right into, if you're coming out next week, what you should be looking for. Okay, this is not part of my new format. I simply forgot to add some information that I think will be helpful for you guys that are coming out next week. So we've had terrible tides this last week, the past week or two. We are having a full moon on Sunday, and that moon is going to bring some screaming tides. They're going to start on Friday through the weekend all the way into Tuesday. So you folks who are coming out on the weekend, maybe that's what it's going to, or what's going to be needed to kick these fish into gear. We're going to have very good tidal coefficients. It's also going to be possibly the last chance if you guys want to come out and fish after dark and look for that one big monster fish to kind of cap off the year. The weather temperatures are going to be nice and warm, so you can do a little after dark fishing and still be pretty comfortable. So keep that in mind. Now, my first suggestion would be, because we have such good tidal coefficients, you're going to be able to find that moving water. So stay close to the moving water and use your faster moving baits for fun. Again, you can punch all day long and you might get some big fish, but if you're looking to have fun, stick with the jerk baits, chatter baits, crank baits, and lipless, and fish those near the moving water, and we will jump back on the boat and I'll give you my tip of the week for fishing those faster moving baits. If you're fishing jerk baits, that's been the top producer for us this week on my boat. If you can make sure as you're snapping that bait in, give it a pause 3 or 4 times during the whole retrieve, and let that bait sit there for 3, 5, 6, 7, 10 seconds. The bigger fish are coming up and hitting it when it's paused. The problem is there's so many small fish coming up, eating it before the big fish. It's hard to do. But work that bait in and make sure you're pausing it for, I'll say, 5 seconds 2 or 3 times during the retrieve, and see if that doesn't trigger the bigger fish. There was one day we lost a couple of nice 4 or 5 pound fish that we lost, and we also saw several 3 or 4, 5 pound fish that came up and just looked at the bait and kissed it and walked away. Again, that's something I don't know why the bigger fish aren't on an aggressive feeding bite. That was one day, and the reason I'm saying that is because any given day you're out here, you may be throwing jerk baits and they may not be a big fish bait right now, but the big fish are looking at them. They're ready to take them, and they may take them. So don't think that just because you're catching a ton of dinks that the next fish that comes up won't be a 4 or 5 pounder. So think about that. Think about your colors. Think about if you're retrieving a faster moving bait, whether it's a jerk bait or a crankbait or whatever, pause it. See if those bigger fish aren't picking it up on the pause. So once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be out here working, and if we come up with something, you guys will hear about it next week. So until then, we'll see you guys on the water.